Welcoming back on head coach Steve Rohlik of the Ohio State men's hockey team for a mid-season check-in. And Steve, thank you so much for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Of course, so entering the weekend, looking at your team halfway through the season, 14, 7-1, 6-2 in the Big Ten. Just let me get your overall thoughts on the team so far this season. How do you think you guys have been performing per your expectations we talked about at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, again, you're never satisfied with where you're at. I mean, that's just coaching 101, right? You want to continue to push and get better, and our players are the same. We've certainly won some big games. We lost some games. Maybe, we thought maybe it got away from us a little bit, but overall, the biggest thing for me is that we continue to look to get better. And that's what I love about this group is they're never satisfied. They want to get better. And that's what we continue to try to push here going into the second half.
And one of the keys of emphasis that you discussed at the beginning of the season was for your team to succeed, you needed a lot of scoring depth through your entire lineup. And how do you evaluate your team's depth right now, and how crucial has that been to your team's success?
Yeah, I think the depth is the reason why we're in the position we are. You lose Gustav Westland 5 games into the season, and Mark Chimetta, both those guys for the year, whatnot on that side of it. Other guys have stepped up, and again, like guys are chipping in from all over the lineup, and that's how you win hockey games. And for us, that's kind of our team mantra. Next guy up, and we got to win as a team. And hockey, last time I checked, you can't win with individuals, and certainly that's what we're preaching.
And you talked about Gustav Westland and Mark Chermetta. Are they both out for the remainder of the season?
They are.
And how difficult is that, especially with some of the older guys on your lineup and Westland, especially as a captain coming in for possibly his final year? How difficult is that for your team?
Well, you know what? I mean, you feel terrible for Goose and obviously Mark right off the hop. You get 5 games in and you come back for a reason. So you really feel bad for them individually, but obviously for the team. And these are things that happen here, or they happen to other programs. You got to deal with it. But again, that's why when we initially talked, I talked about our depth and talked about that's how we got to win games. And certainly that's a position we're in right now, and that's what our team's rallying around.
And some players that have helped your team through the depth is your group of freshmen that we were talking about at the beginning of the season. Have they fit into your lineup and help boost your roster a little bit this season?
Well, I think it's been really important, and again, the first thing is I give credit to our older guys. As young guys come in, our older guys accept them. They make them part of the culture right away. And so there's a comfort level there. So it allows these young guys to come in and don't be afraid to make mistakes, and they don't have to carry the mail. They just come in and be a part of the team. And then you can see their best qualities come out. And right now we're seeing that out of these young guys.
And one of those players is Stephen Halliday, who's been at the top of the score sheet for most of the season with your team. What makes him such a special player that's allowed him to thrive as a Buckeye?
Yeah, one is just his stick and presence as far as his hockey sense offensively. He's got just an unbelievable feel. I mean, being 6'4" doesn't hurt, and he's really done an excellent job on the offensive end and on the power play. And I give him a lot of credit. I mean, he's working hard to become that 200-foot player, and I mean, he's really just scratching the surface, I think, on where he could be in here in his career.
And another player who had a great freshman season last year, then had a difficult injury at the end of the season, and coming into his sophomore season is Mason Lohrei, stepping back into the lineup, producing 17 points, all of those being assists. And we talked about having to get him back into the full game aspect and getting into the practices at the beginning of the season. How impressed are you with his season so far after how he's had to battle back from some of the adversity that he has had?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, I said this to you at the beginning. I give him all the credit in the world at how hard he worked to put himself in a position for day one for us. And he's continued to push himself. He's a straw that stirs a drink here for us. He's in every situation. He plays the most minutes of anybody on our team. And again, he's still understanding how to let that game come to him at times because he is so talented. He wants to make a difference every time he's on the ice. But I think he's still learning that. And again, I mean, he's an individual that continues to get better, which which is scary, but certainly he's the first one that shows up every day. He wants to be a player. He wants to put the time in, the work ethic, and those are the guys that are difference makers.
And you talked about that work ethic. Someone else we talked about at the work ethic at the beginning of the season was Jake Wise, who at the time was one of the two captains of your team leading on the ice, but now he's the only captain participating on the ice right now as Gustav Westland has the injury. So Jake Wise is leading the team in points, along with being the only captain on the ice, like I said. So what does he mean to this team on the ice with his production and off the ice through his leadership role after using his extra year to have one more season as a Buckeye?
Yep, and again, Jaden Leslie also is one of our leadership group captains as well. But Weiser is he's an incredible leader because he does things the right way. His preparation, his structure, what he does to prepare himself for practice every day, how he carries himself. Those are the things that you look to as a leader. And the one thing that's special, he has guys following him. That's the special part about Weiser. And he's even a better person than he is a player, which is awesome. That's why you coach.
And moving away from the individual aspect of some of the players, midway through the first half of the season, team dealt with a lot of adversity on and off the ice, including the incident with Camille Sadlocha and some of that when we were talking to you and Jake Wise, close to that LIU series and things like that, you could start to sense that there was some adversity there. How do you feel that your team was able to overcome that and start to rack up some wins after that?
Well, again, I mean, I think the one thing is you go through an education, you teach, you help these kids. That's what we do. You try to make a positive impact. I think our guys have done a tremendous job in that area. And again, sometimes it makes you closer as a group. You learn from things, you try to get better from things. And that's what these guys have done. And they put themselves in position to be better people for it. And I think it's helped us on the ice.
And Camille is now back with the team after the holidays. Is there a timetable of when people should expect him to be back on the ice?
Yeah, we just haven't made that decision yet. Like I say, I mean, we just continue to move forward. We continue to educate, be it our whole team, Camille and our team. And we want to be better for it. And I've said this, we want to be part of the solution. Hockey should be inclusive in an accepting environment. And, that we all understand. And because of this education and what we're doing moving forward, we all are going to be better for it. And so when the time comes when he plays, we haven't made that decision yet. We will as we continue to move forward.
But now he's back with the full team. Is he going to travel to Michigan this week? Like he's back embedded into the program?
Well, he's here, he's working. We'll make that decision here as we move forward. But yeah, he's back, he's practicing, going to school, doing all those things as part of our program.
Okay. And looking forward to the rest of the season, we talked about some of the success you've had and with the depth. What areas do you think your team needs to focus on for you guys to reach that ultimate goal of winning the conference and NCAA titles? That's something you guys have definitely wanted, especially with the success you guys have had so far.
Well, I think one, and we've talked about never be satisfied with where you're at. We got to continue to push ourselves. Special teams is always the monster, right? It's always the key every night, day in and day out. That's certainly an area that I want to make sure we continue to get better at. We've been in a good spot there, but you can never be satisfied there. And then obviously our consistency. I think you got to learn to play a 60-minute game all the time. Every shift's important. Every face-off's important. And the closer you get to a 60-minute consistent game, it's the better chance that it gives you to win hockey games.
And after sweeping Michigan State this weekend at home, was that a big momentum for you to try and get that consistency a little bit more?
Well, again, I mean, you know how hard it is to win at this level, even one night, and to put yourself in an opportunity to win back to back is huge. And again, yes, that's part of the consistency factor, and it's part of momentum. And you got to just continue to try to build on that momentum.
And one thing moving away from this season as a whole, looking forward to next season, your team announced 6 signings since we last spoke for freshmen next year. What does that signing class add to your team looking into next year that Buckeye fans can expect?
Well, again, I think they all bring their individual personality. I think number one, These are players that want to be part of this program. These are players that fit into our culture, what we continue to try to do. And again, we're not asking any one of these guys to come in and carry the mail, but I think they understand that they can be a huge impact here. And again, I think these guys are going to come in and be a huge part of our future.
And now moving into this weekend, you guys are traveling up to Ann Arbor, going into the series versus Michigan. Your rivals, what are your team's keys to success against a team that has not played a Big Ten game since December 10th, compared to you guys who are just coming off a series sweep?
Well, again, the first thing you know is how talented they are. It's easy to look at the roster and again watch them on video and know how dangerous that hockey team is. I mean, they're as good as anybody in the country. They can beat anybody in the country. And for us, it comes down to us and our structure and how we need to play. And you always respect your opponent, and you go into this knowing that we got to be at our best, and we got to go up there and we got to get back to that 60-minute game, and we got to take away time and space and eliminate some of the easy mistakes.
And they're known there for their environment. What kind of challenges does that bring, that especially some of the freshmen haven't experienced before?
Yeah, I mean, it's been that way for a long, long time up there in Ann Arbor, and it's a fun rink to play in. And I think that's the attitude you got to take. This is a great environment to go up there and play in. Yep, our new guys have never been there and experienced it. It might take them a shift or two to just, get their feet wet and get into it, but it certainly won't take them long.
And another great environment that your team's going to be playing in against Michigan as well will be the face-off on the lake in February and the outdoor game. I know we talked about it a little bit before at the beginning of the season, but as it starts to get closer, what's the excitement around that game, and especially with the team you're playing up there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just an incredible experience, right? And I think that's why you do things like this. Our players, their players, they're going to remember this for the rest of their life, to be able to go through something like this. And 50,000 people or whatever that number is going to be, and to be in that outdoor environment, kind of the start of where hockey came from. And I think it's always pretty special. And certainly with the rivalry and being able to play in that environment on that field, something we all look forward to.
And we definitely look forward to seeing how that plays out and the series this weekend and the rest of your season as the Buckeyes look for the playoffs. And Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.